Welcome back to Mindbent. There's a behaviour we all share, and tonight we're going to look at it without judgment.
There is a name in your phone you haven't opened in 11 days. The notification sat there, small and unread, and at some point you pressed it away without replying. You didn't block them. You didn't decide anything. The thread just went quiet, and somehow that felt like the easier thing. You know the texture of this. A message arrives and you read the preview without opening it so the read receipt doesn't fire. You compose a reply in your head, a perfectly reasonable one, and then you don't type it. Hours pass. The gap becomes a day. You open the thread, feel something vaguely uncomfortable, close it again. By the time you do respond, the warmth in your message has been calibrated carefully, neither too warm nor too cold, and you tell yourself you are simply overwhelmed with other things. Maybe there's a second name too, someone you used to reply to within minutes who now waits a day or two for you, and you've noticed the shift without naming it. Someone whose voice notes you let expire without listening. Someone whose birthday you remembered this year but didn't text about. You call it being busy. You call it bad at texting. You call it an introverted spell. You don't call it what it might actually be, which is a quiet withdrawal that your body started before your mind caught up. But here's the kinder, more biological truth about what's happening. You're not cold. You're not passive-aggressive. You're not a coward who can't have a real conversation. Your nervous system is doing something very specific, something it was designed to do, and it started doing it before you consciously agreed. Think of your reply speed as a thermostat. When a room feels safe, you move freely through it. You reply quickly. You leave doors open. You let people come close. But when the thermostat senses something, a pattern of behavior, a tone that's been slightly off for months, a repeated feeling that a particular presence costs more than it returns, it begins adjusting the temperature, quietly, incrementally, without an announcement. The room cools, movement slows. You don't storm out, you just become a little harder to reach. In 2011, the researcher Stephen Porges published work on what he called the polyvagal theory, a framework for understanding how the autonomic nervous system manages social safety. The central mechanism is something he called neuroception, the process by which your vagus nerve constantly scans your environment and the people in it for cues of threat or safety and shifts your body's state accordingly, without waiting for your conscious mind to weigh in. This isn't metaphor. The ventral vagal system, the branch of your vagus nerve associated with social engagement, actually modulates your capacity to connect. When it reads safety, it opens you up. Your face is more expressive, your voice has more prosody, your attention is more available. When it reads something that isn't quite safe, it starts the withdrawal. Not fight, not flight. Something quieter, a gradual dimming of the social engagement system, a small but measurable reduction in your availability. What this means is that your slow reply might not be a decision you made. It might be your nervous system's first response to something it detected before you had language for it. The person who makes a low-grade joke at your expense every third conversation. The friend who receives your good news with a slightly flattened affect. The family member who always, somehow, makes the conversation about themselves by the third exchange. Your neuroception caught it, your ventral vagal system logged it, and your thumb started hovering a little longer before pressing send. The reply delay isn't avoidance, it's a boundary your body built while you were still trying to be fair. Now, this matters because the protection that's running is a real one. It was probably built at a time when expressing distance directly wasn't safe, or wasn't effective, or wasn't something anyone had shown you how to do. In many attachment histories, especially for people who grew up around emotionally unpredictable caregivers, the slow withdrawal was the only form of self-protection available. You couldn't say, "You hurt me," without escalation. You couldn't create physical space without consequences. So you created emotional space the only way that was low risk. You became slightly less available, slightly less warm, slightly less present, without ever having to say why. The behavior isn't pathological, it's not passive-aggressive by design. It was at one point an accurate and intelligent response to the situation you were in. The thermostat was calibrated perfectly for that room. The problem is that thermostats don't automatically recalibrate when you move to a different building. So what can you do with this practically today? First, just name it, not to the other person, not yet, just to yourself. Open the thread you've been avoiding, sit with it for 60 seconds. Ask not, "What should I say?" but "What is the delay protecting?" Sometimes the answer is this relationship has run its course and the slow withdrawal is honest, even if it's inarticulate. Sometimes the answer is, "I'm scared of conflict, and I'm doing the only thing I know how to do." Both of those answers are useful. One might mean you send the message, the other might mean you have a conversation instead. Second, if you recognize that you want to stay in the relationship, but you've been using the reply delay as an unconscious pressure valve, try something specific this week. Pick one message you've been sitting on from someone you genuinely care about. Reply within the hour, not a performative reply, not a carefully crafted one, a real one, with whatever incomplete thought you actually have. Haven't replied properly, thinking of you, will call Thursday. 20 words. The point isn't the content. The point is letting your nervous system experience the thing it's been avoiding, sending something real to someone close, and surviving what comes back. Third, if you've been slow with someone you know you're genuinely withdrawing from, the delay isn't the problem. The lack of honesty is. Your body already knows the truth. The compassionate version of this, for both of you, is finding a way to let your words catch up to what your nervous system decided weeks ago. It doesn't have to be dramatic, it can be quiet like the withdrawal itself. "I think I've been a bit absent and I'm not sure I have the bandwidth right now." You're allowed to say that. It's more honest than 11 days of silence. You're allowed to need distance before you know why you need it. You're allowed to have a nervous system that moves faster than your language. You're allowed to have used slowness as a protection for years without knowing that's what you were doing. And you're allowed now to start replacing one instance of the slow withdrawal with something more like a word. Not because the withdrawal was wrong, because you have better tools now than the ones you had when you first learned to go quiet. Take a breath. Feel the phone in your hand. Pick one thread. You don't have to know what to say. Start with something true, even if it's small. That's enough for today. If there's a name in your phone this landed on, I'd like to hear what the delay was protecting. Drop it in the comments, even just a word or two. I read all of them.
If this perspective helped you see your own pattern a little more clearly today, click subscribe. Until next time.